Joining me today on the Out of Character interview are a team of filmmakers from Central Florida. They have a YouTube channel with hilarious parodies, mostly known for the Diary of a Wimpy Alien series. They've worked on feature films and several other things. I've known them for a long time. So it is my pleasure to welcome to Streaming the Steam And You Films. How's it going?
Hey, thanks for having us.
We've known each other for a while, especially Brendan, you and I were in high school back in 2001, I think is when we met. So it's almost 20 years now. In that time, we have definitely worked on all kinds of crazy things. And why don't you guys talk a little bit about And You Films and explain who you are and what you do?
Sure. Well, we're a full-service video production company. We produce anything from a 15-second commercial to full-length feature films and everything in between. And like you said, right now we have a YouTube channel that we do weekly content for. I met John back in high school. We went to Mainland High School in Daytona Beach, and we were in the TV production class. And what Mainland had was a once-a-month TV show that was produced by students that would air to the school. I was producer of the show. And consistently, there were these projects sent in from a student, John Mundelli, that always looked great. And it became very clear that really there's really only one person I wanted to collaborate with at Mainland, and that was John. So by the end of the year, we got to work on a project together. And then jokingly, after I graduated, we talked about, well, maybe we'll make a feature film someday or whatever. And literally less than a year after that, I started talking to John about what was supposed to be a fun summer project that later ended up consuming 9 years of our lives, and that was the feature film Flashback that pretty much started And You Films.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that was a crazy, crazy experience. I mean, we could probably talk for hours just about Flashback, but yeah, that was really, as we like to say, our film school, because we were just out of high school. We didn't have any kind of formal training in filmmaking, but we had a passion for it, and we just dove in and kind of learned as we went.
The thing that they talk about when making your first feature film, they always say, well, try to keep it small scale, try to keep it to elements and things that you have available to you at the time. Unfortunately, we didn't listen to that advice at all when it came to Flashback. Flashback's about as epic scale as it gets, with a cast of over 100 people. So, like,
there have been many other projects since, but I don't think anything has been as intense as that.
Nothing that immense, no.
It was actually during the production of Flashback when The Cog is Dead got started, and at that time, The Cog is Dead was really a side project for me, because even though we were already working on a million things to get this massive movie project done, I still also had this desire to make music and start a band. And I got to get a lot of experience, too, working on the movie, because we worked on all sorts of music and songs, because this movie is just a crazy conglomeration of like everything we ever wanted to see in a movie. So there's a Lord of the Rings musical sequence, there's a big musical number, there's an Eminem-style rap song, there's just all kinds of ridiculous things. And
I mean, you were already starting to build like your sample library and all your Pro Tools knowledge. I think you started using Pro Tools first during Flashback. Is that correct?
Yeah, actually, that's one of the reasons I got it, was to orchestrate the musical number. So Flashback is the beginning of all things that we do.
Yeah.
and it's also what kind of led into the YouTube channel. In fact, initially, I remember when the YouTube channel was started, it was called Flashback Films. It wasn't And You Films, because it was to give backstory on the movie. The movie is about a studio in the future called Flashback Films that makes these horrible, ridiculous movies, which was an excuse for us to cram it with all kinds of movie parodies. So when the YouTube channel was started, it was supposedly the official channel of the fictional studio, and it was an excuse to make all these crazy parody videos, like the one that you saw earlier today, and several others that I've shown. And since then, the channel has really grown into something that's got a dedicated fan base and a following. So why don't you talk a little bit about the channel and what you all do on there?
Sure. I think most of it, you could say, well, maybe 95% is in the parody world. And that still goes back to the origins of being a Flashback marketing piece that it started as. We've long since outgrown that, I would say. Most of our fans and subscribers don't know what Flashback is, even though we have plenty of trailers and clips from it.
They should.
They should. Yes, they should learn.
Yes.
But we find that people really seem to enjoy our voice in the parody world. And we especially like doing mashups. For instance, Alea, your t-shirt for Thor Shagnarok, Thor meets Austin Powers.
Yeah, baby.
Sometimes you do these videos because the idea just really calls to you, but other times you do it because two words sound funny together.
Yep.
There's a large musical sequence in that one, too, with music you provided, John, parody music of Austin Powers.
Yeah, that's been another fun thing for me, too, even with all these parodies. I never know what's coming. I just get these emails. It's like, hey, we need a parody of Hamilton, or a parody of Austin Powers, or just some really crazy original piece. So it's always a blast getting to do ridiculous music, but that's got high production value.
I think that kind of spells out what we like to do. We put out a fair amount of content, but we tend to hold back and not just spew out as much content as possible. We try to always keep our production value pretty high. I guess I should say unexpectedly high. I think people are always surprised by how good some of the really silly things we do look.
We still like to think of ourselves as filmmakers first and foremost. So we always try to bring high production value to whatever we produce for the channel. And we look at it like they're little mini movies, essentially, you know?
The channel just didn't go from 2,000 subscribers to 100,000 subscribers overnight. It took a lot of effort and focus into it. And I think that goes with anything in life. If you want it, you're going to have to put 100% energy and focus behind it. You can't, you can't give 25, 30% energy and be like, oh, it's going to be a success. I'll get 100,000 subscribers. It didn't happen that way. And there was excellent content on the channel. There really was. Like, one of my favorite parodies ever only has 6,000 subscribers. It's Impatient Lincoln. That was before I joined the crew. I was living in Texas at the time, and I love that parody, but it has 6,000 subscribers. So, I'm sorry, 6,000 views, yes.
I'm pretty sure you're responsible for 90% of
I think I am. But we started to see success in the way that a majority of people would quantify that when we started putting a lot more energy and focus into it. And I think, again, that's a great life lesson in anything you want to do. You might only see the success that you want if you really put 100% of your energy into it.
So in the first several years of the YouTube channel, things were pretty sporadic, but I guess it was around the beginning of 2017, you told me you wanted to attempt putting out monthly content and trying to produce a new parody every month. I got to be very involved in those first 3 months on the first 3 parodies of that year. The Diabeatles, which I've shown on here, Ranger Things, which is a mashup of Stranger Things and Power Rangers, and the third one was a mashup of the Alien franchise and Diary of a Wimpy Kid called Diary of a Wimpy Alien. It was one of the first videos to reach 1 million views and the first one to ever get a sequel. And from there, it's just become a very successful YouTube series and has got quite a following.
Well, I think one of the things that caught us most off guard is when we first came up with the idea for that, it was just simply because Alien Covenant and the fourth Wimpy Kid movie, the Long Haul, were coming out on the same Friday. And we really like Alien, we like a lot of the sci-fi movies. We really, I think, underestimated the Wimpy Kid popularity.
Yeah.
I don't think we realized just what a huge audience those movies and that franchise and those books have.
And the lack of fan films and parody content of Wimpy Kid. So there's a huge fan base that didn't have the fan films out there.
And another thing, I don't think we would have expected there was as much overlap between the fan base of Wimpy Kid with Alien and Because that audience knows their stuff. Like, a lot of the fans of Wimpy Kid know all the different kinds of aliens and kinds of predators and details of the sci-fi more than we do.
But they're always a blast to work on. I got to be on set for the first one, and since I've had a chance to do animation for all of them, my wife does the voice of Greg. Alea, you play Greg on screen.
Yes, Audra and I are like this now. I feel I feel so connected with your wife, and I'm sorry if that makes you awkward. But
it's great because your performances are always so in sync.
After 3 years, I think.
And I know you were all just getting ready to produce the next season. You were just getting ready to go into production, and a few months ago, everything stopped when the quarantine happened. So how has production and just functioning as a YouTube channel been?
Well, like everyone right now, it's really thrown us through a loop. I mean, we were rocking and rolling pretty much all last 3-4 years. I feel like it's been nonstop. So to go from pumping out content. It really was nonstop, and it was to the point where we were starting to get a little burnt out. And then this happened, and we just didn't know, like everyone else, and everyone has their own experiences that they're going through. And on the corporate level, we've lost a lot of video jobs, people that have pulled their videos that were in pre-production just because they don't know where their businesses are going to be in the future. And that makes sense. We understand that. And then on the YouTube front, oh my gosh, I was so excited going into, we were going to do a sequel to Pokemonji because that one's been doing really well. And we had all of season 2 planned out for Wimpy Alien. And then we were going to do original content every quarter as well. So going from that and thinking, oh yeah, it's going to be this, boom, 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 to we can't get together and shoot because we want to make sure it's safe for everyone. And we spent 2 months apart, the three of us, until all three of us got tested for COVID-19. All three of us were found negative, and then we felt that it was safe. But we strongly believe in practicing social distancing measures, and it's really hard to shoot something, especially like a Wimpy Alien, when you want to get extras and all these fun characters, and you want to bring this monster back, and we got to have, the whole family, and then we got to have his friends, and if they can't be there, if we can't all be there together to shoot, I just wouldn't do Wimpy Alien justice. So that's on hold for right now, because we, like Will was saying earlier, we want to make sure what comes out is quality content, and we don't want to just throw something together just to have a Wimpy Alien.
And there's a big precedent set for what a Wimpy Alien episode looks like. Like, we do some spin-off things. They're shorter ones, 0.5s. They're more animated that you do a lot of work on, John. And there are Greg Responds, where he just talks to a webcam. But the major Wimpy Alien episodes, they're big. They're full casts, lots of locations. And it would be very strange, and I think a disservice to the series to suddenly pull back.
On it, yeah. I mean, usually Wimpy Aliens are anywhere from 5 to 8 days of shooting per Wimpy Alien episode, and that requires a lot of locations, a lot of people, a lot of crew for us, and but what's cool now, staying positive, is now that we all are tested, the three of us can work together again, so we don't have to shoot things separately anymore. So at least the three of us can be together, and that leads to what we're doing now, which is something we're calling a scene riff series, Quarantined with a Green Screen,
where we just kind of take a famous scene from a classic film and basically rip it to shreds. We incorporate all kinds of stupid things into it.
And it really is something that was kind of born of these times. It was all just green screen in our office. It's something we can do, small team, in front of a green screen.
The difference is our actors are limited because it's Will, Brendan, and myself. So all characters, no matter what scene we're doing, it's going to be the three of us.
And we're the crew, too.
And we're the crew as well. So I hope that, they like Wimpy Alien. We can't do that right now, but it's similar comedy and similar in style to what we've done in the past. So hopefully there will be that nice transition there, and we get to do this fun new content until it's safe enough to shoot with larger cast and crew.
Yeah. And so obviously during the past few months when you guys couldn't meet together in person, you still needed to have content and keep the channel active. And so you pitched this concept to me to do this animated series called Socially Distanced Cinema. So I know I already showed one of the cartoons, and there's another one that I think is supposed to premiere on your channel tomorrow. Which so the next one, of course, is the Avengers, which, assuming I can finish the animation by tomorrow, it'll be out. But it's been really fun getting to keep the channel active and work on these hilarious cartoons that you all have written, and it's been a cool workaround and way of keeping things going. And surprisingly, the first cartoon did really well, much better than a lot of the non-Wimpy Alien videos. So it
was excellent.
So it's great that you guys have been able to keep the channel active and keep producing content even during quarantine. Obviously, unfortunately, we're living in a time where it's still financially difficult for people that depend on YouTube revenue. How can people support And You Films right now?
If you do like our content and you do want to help us out financially, again, if you watch our videos, if you subscribe to our channel, that already helps us out. But if you find it in your heart to help three filmmakers that don't have a lot of revenue right now because a lot of work is gone.
Whoops. I didn't know there was water.
Maybe.
I'm sorry.
Did you think I was pretend drinking
I
this?
did.
We can get a bigger mug for Brendan.
That's not fun.
We do have a Patreon. It's And You Films. But we also have a Teespring store where you can get T-shirts like this or like that of a lot of our parodies, and we hope to be updating that as well. Teespring also just made a mask option, so we want to try to get And You Films mask going because, again, we do encourage social distancing practice and we wear our masks. But yeah, Patreon and Teespring are the two ways that you can really help us on the financially if you have the desire to do so.
It's been awesome getting to talk to you guys again, and good to see you. I'm glad you're all doing really well and still enduring even in a crazy global pandemic. So glad you're staying safe and being healthy. And yeah, everybody check out And You Films on YouTube, support them, buy their stuff, and watch the videos. They're awesome.
Thank you. Thanks, John, for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Really appreciate it.